Again, thank you all very much for selecting Bay Pines as the area that you would like to dedicate your volunteer hours and dedicate your time to our veterans. I'd like to introduce Rod Ream, who is one of our safety experts. He's going to present on fire and safety, and he's got a lot of good stories to share with you. And he is also a veteran, so we certainly thank him for his efforts and what he's done to serve our country. So come on up, Rod.
Thank you. Good morning. As Kelly said, Rod Ream, safety. This will be a basic orientation of just what you're up against. This is about us, because safety is responsible for everybody coming through the front gate. That being said, as you well know, volunteers are a different breed of people, and that's very good for us. It also puts you in some positions that normal staff members don't get there. So let's talk about that, because we cannot survive without you. This hospital has a long, long history of volunteerism. Our patient care is enhanced by you. It's just a win-win for both the veteran and the volunteer. But there are, because of the size of the facility, certain things that you're going to be exposed to, and we want to bring you up to speed on that as fast as we can. Bay Pines, 326 acres, 22 buildings, soon to be 25, and that doesn't count trailers. We have about 3,500 staff, another largest regional office in the country. There's another 1,000 people sitting down in that big pink building on the end where the crane is right now, if you saw that coming in. We are the 4th busiest VA in the country. We see on an average with the hospital runs somewhere between 15 and 2,000 a day when we're really busy. We see on the average with the CBOCs and the hospital, 4,000 people per day. So it's a busy place. That being said, the first thing if you haven't already experienced it, parking is not as good as we would like it to be, all right? Heads up, not going to get better anytime soon, and I will explain that to you as we go through this. But parking is an issue, and it is an issue with safety, because most of our accidents occur outside. But let's go back to the basics first. Again, 326 acres. The main building is the hospital. You're in building 2. Some of the other places that are of extreme importance to us and fall under different guidelines as far as safety goes would be the Community Living Center, which is composed of 4 separate sections. We also have 2 wards in building 1, 4th floor and the 5th floor, 2 full floors, okay, that are psych. And then we have the hospital itself. So those areas are what we call defend-in-place areas, and I'll get back to that. But I want you to understand that there are patients throughout the facility. It's not just medical here, administration here. It's kind of all mixed up. So you have to keep that in mind as you're traversing the campus. IDs. You will be issued IDs. Bottom line here for us is that when you're on the facility as a staff member, you have to have your ID worn above the waist and visible. We ask the volunteers to comply with the same rule. Several reasons for that. Security will tell you their reason. I'll tell you my reasons real quick. In case of emergency, I need to be able to sort out who's who. I need to know who's staff, who's volunteer, who's patient, who's visitors, etc. And we don't have a lot of time to do that sometimes in emergencies, so that's why the IDs are so very, very important as far as fire and safety is concerned. Now, as far as accidents go, let me clue you in. Like I said, most of them happen outside, most of them are slip, trips, and falls. Now, we've gone a long way to correct that. Building 100 was built, started in 80, it finished in 83. And one of the things that was included in Building 100 was about $1 million worth of sidewalks. Well, as time has shown, hindsight is a wonderful thing. We should have probably saved $1 million and put everybody in here first, because what had happened over the years was there was a lot of cow paths, all the shortcuts the staff and patients were taking. And they have cut through a lot of the grassy areas. That created a lot of problems, especially in Florida when it's wet and humid and all that kind of stuff, was people slipping and falling. Parking lots, same way. We saw a lot of that. We have improved all the sidewalks. We have put sidewalks places where the cow paths used to be. We have worked diligently on the parking lots to fill the potholes and other things. We now have shuttle systems to bring people back and forth. And that seems to have cut down on the outside stuff. On the inside, the same thing, slip, trips, and falls. A couple things we want to tell you. First thing is safe, comfortable shoes. By that I mean comfortable shoes with good soles. Understand that in the facility itself, throughout the facility, the commonality of floors is what you're up against. Most of them are linoleum, highly polished. Some of them are tile, and they're highly polished, kept clean at all times. Problem is, when they get any kind of fluids on them, they get slick. That's why as you walk in the facility, you'll find on all the automatic doors, there's carpet inside. That's to take care of the condensation between the heat differentials, because we had a lot of condensation at the doors. A lot of people were winding up, falling and slipping at the doorways. We corrected that. As you're walking through the hospital, I will tell you, if you're in building 100, the most dangerous place is right outside of Starbucks, and it's been going on for about an hour. True. What happens is, hey, government runs on coffee. Everybody knows that. If you don't, you will soon learn that. But what happens is people go to Starbucks, they get their stuff, they go back down the hallway, they're slopping their coffee, somebody comes behind them, zip, boom, and we're off to the races. All right? So if you're in that section of the hospital in the mornings, pay attention. All right? Other than that, as you're walking through the hospital, signage is very important. They're there for a reason. Signs everywhere there's signs, you betcha. And you're going to see a lot of them out here, especially around the construction areas. But within the hospital itself is what I'm more concerned about, because everybody understands about barrier tape, do not enter, and all that stuff. But when you are in the hospital and you see signage, if you don't understand it, ask somebody. Don't go in a room that has a sign on it that you don't understand. That's just kind of simple, but you'd be surprised at how many people don't pay attention to signs. As far as the walking around, if you see a yellow or an orange cone sitting in the middle of the hallway, that's put there by housekeeping. And that means either one of two things. It's under one of these air conditioner ducts and it's dripping water on the floor, or the housekeepers are doing the floors. So those cones in the middle of the floor, they are there for a reason, and you will find them scattered throughout. You're not going to see a whole lot of condensate on days like today, all right, but in the summertime, yeah, it's an issue. So keep that in mind. As far as the construction, and a lot of you will have to deal with that, just like our staff, there's no place right now that we are not doing renovation, new construction, so on. And there's a lot of construction, barrier tape up, sidewalks and stuff like that. We do request that you pay attention to those. True story. Domiciliary building 102. We have it all blocked off, taped off. We've got 2 concrete trucks sitting out front, about 15 concrete workers doing the sidewalks. And we had rerouted everybody around. Now, that's a very busy area in the morning. It's got the Lakeside Clinic, it's got the domiciliary, and that main entrance gets a lot of traffic. Well, we had everybody diverted, and everybody was walking around, and things were going fine. And I had one employee, and she decided that she wasn't going to walk around. So she managed to get through the signs and the tape and sneak behind all of us and step through the bushes, and she was doing real well until about her 3rd step in, when she realized that she had sunk to her ankles in wet concrete. Actually happened. So again, this is why we bring up signage. Pay attention to it, please. Now, the big one that we want you to be aware of is the fire policy in the hospital. This is an entire medical complex, and to give you an idea of the diversity of it, most people would think that as far as fire hazard goes, somewhere inside of building 100 would be our most dangerous area. That is not the case. The upper floor of building 23, by its nature, is the most dangerous on the facility as far as fire is concerned, and that is because that whole upper floor is research. And there's different chemicals, et cetera, so we have to look at that. And in the grand scheme of things, when we grade it out, that would be the most dangerous place. But understand what you're up against in the hospital also. Let's just take a walk around the 2nd floor. We're going to get on the elevator in the back. We're going to go up to the 2nd floor. We're going to step off the elevator. Now, as you step off the elevator, you're looking at the end wing of this side of the building. That whole end wing, okay, is the morgue, okay, and storage. As you take a right, the first wing that you'll see is a complete wing with nuclear med. Now, all hospitals are built in H's, so we come down, we leave that part of it, we walk down the hallway. Next section you're going to hit, A wing, is all OR. Behind the OR is recovery. And then we've got the cath lab sitting back there. Down the whole front of the hospital, SICU, MICU, ICU. You come off the front of the hospital, now you've got the CT and a whole radiology department. Come back down that hallway again, and that last section, that last wing, is the laboratory. So that's just one floor. So you can see all the different disciplines that are going on and different things. And we're not even talking about patient care or what's going on down on the first floor. So you can see the complexity that we have to deal with. Now, as far as fires go, the facility doesn't have many, but we do have our incidents. Most of those are equipment fires. The fire policy has been based on taking all this into consideration, everything you can think of, every one of the different disciplines, every one of the different buildings, the different occupancies, etc. So here's the fire policy for the facility. It's called RACE. R-A-C-E, it's an acronym. It stands for Rescue, Alarm, Contain, and Evacuate. Rescue. Who are you going to rescue? Well, that's the whole plan. That's the whole idea of it. You got to know how to rescue yourself. The plan is based on rescue. Who are you going to rescue? Yourself first, because if you don't know how to rescue yourself, you are not part of my solution. You are part of my situation. So that's what we want everybody to understand, how to rescue yourself. That's what the policy is based on. All right? We review this in quarterly safety 4 times a year. It's mandatory for our staff to attend it twice. Now, the alarms. Let's talk about that because, again, multi-million-dollar alarm system. This is a huge complex. We have state-of-the-art addressable simplex. It will do a whole bunch of stuff. It's got heat detectors, duct detectors, smoke detectors. It will talk to us. All right? It will announce audibly. It will do a lot of things automatically for us, and that's a very good thing. But we also have a situation where it may not pick it up. So we also have a manual alarm policy. And that's quite simple on the alarm. If you smell smoke, you let somebody know. Notify whomever, your supervisor, another employee that knows what to do about it. But let somebody know that you're call safety, 4591. But let somebody know you're smelling smoke. On the other hand, if you see smoke, do not hesitate, pull an alarm. End story. I will explain that to you in more detail as we move down this plan. But smoke is the enemy. It's not fire that's going to get you. All right? People fall into the trap, and you will see this, that, okay, what's the big deal? Sprinkled buildings. Everything in healthcare is sprinkled. That's very true. Sprinklers were never put in a building to save your life. Not going to do it. Sprinklers work on this principle. They'll sit up there, and this is healthcare, so they're quick response head. They're faster than normal than in an administrative situation. But for healthcare, they go off at about 150 to 152 degrees. Now that means that that head's sitting up there, it's under pressure, and there's a little piece of metal keeping it closed. When that piece of metal gets to a certain temperature, 152 degrees, it loses its tensile strength, collapses, and the pressure allows the sprinkler head to open. Do the math. If it's 152 degrees at the sprinkler head, what's it going to be at the origin of the fire? By the time that thing goes off, for the humans involved in the situation, okay, the event has usually, turned very bad, if not catastrophic. They're not there to save your life. They are there to maintain the integrity of the structure. What happens in a fire is after it gets to a certain point, with the gassing and everything else and the combustion, everything in the area will reach a combustible temperature, and it goes to what we call flashover. Once flashover occurs, okay, you've got a rampant fire, runaway fire on your hands, and it will endanger the structure. What this does is it keeps that fire from going to flashover temperature throughout the room. That's what a sprinkler does, no more, no less. Will not save your life. Don't fall into that trap. Now, if the alarm goes off, here's what's going to happen. No matter where you're at, you're going to see automatically doors are going to start closing. Those are all the doors that are held up in the main corridors, the smoke doors, by the fire alarm system. When the fire alarm goes off, we'll use 100. If that fire alarm goes off for any reason, the first thing you hear is click, click, click throughout the hospital because everything buttons up. All the doors release, so we now are starting to compartmentalize the building. All right? Next thing that's going to happen is those boys on the wall are going to start flashing and they're going to start blaring. Then you will hear one of two things. All right? Computer-generated voice telling you Dr. Red. Dr. Red is the fire call for the facility. It will repeat that about a half a dozen times, maybe more depending on the area. And it will tell you Dr. Red 3A 100 as an example. That would mean that we have a fire incident reported on wing 3A of building 100. Now, if you're in 100 and you hear that computer voice going on, pay attention, no matter where you're at. If you hear the computer telling you that there's a fire, you're in the building that it's happening in. That's what the computer will tell you. The next thing that will happen after that cycles through is that there will be a human voice, and it will not be in the building that it happened, but it will go throughout the station. And you will hear Dr. Red from the operator suite, 3A 100, putting the whole station on the same page. That's what happens automatically. Now, if you are one of those people and find yourself in the unfortunate situation of having to pull an alarm, do it. React to it. Also understand the fire call number for the hospital is 711. That is the emergency number for the facility. Now, I know we have taught you all your life that 911 is an emergency number, okay? Understand if you dial that on the hospital phone, if you punch in 911, it will go to 711. But if you need to dial 911, you would have to hit 911, all right? You should not find yourself in that position unless you run into a medical emergency, and if you call that in, they may tell you to call 911 and get the paramedics out here, because in certain instances, in the lots and so on and so forth, the paramedics can get here faster than our staff can on a code blue alert, as an example. All right, now that alarm is going off, all right, and it's done going off. The next thing is, where you at? Most of the time, if you're in 100, just follow the staff's rules. As you get familiarized with the facility, you'll understand the different buildings. I am not going to try and drill that into you, what the difference between administrative, complete evacuation, and medical defend in place. Understand, if you're over in building 2, like we are, we share the same building. You're in voluntary service and that fire alarm goes off in the building, everybody out. That's a full evacuation building. Other places, they're not going to be everybody out. So that is incumbent upon you, as wherever you wind up working as a volunteer, ask the staff. They know. They will fill you in on what to do in case of a fire emergency. But understand, if you have to leave for any reason, if you have to evacuate, and even if you're in an area that doesn't evacuate, the next one is probably the most important. Close the doors behind you. We do not allow door wedges on this facility anywhere. If you need open for any reason, engineering is contacted, we will put a mechanical device on it to hold your door open. What that allows you is, as you go out that door, all you have to do is just really grab the doorknob, and it will self-close once you kick it loose. Everybody knows how to do that. If you've got a door wedge in it, you may not be able to get that door closed. And here is the huge problem. Most of the fires that we see are equipment fires due to the nature of our business. Equipment fires, although they don't happen often, they do happen. That's a fact of life. In fact, we've had several of them in the recent past, and nobody was hurt, but they do create problems, obviously, when equipment starts to burn up. But besides that, it's all about smoke. Remember, we all know what smoke will do to you. It will asphyxiate you, render you unconscious. Most of the time, smoke is what kills you in a fire, not the fire itself. Second part of that is technology. In the old days, all we had to do was worry about paper fires and wood fires and structure fires. But with technology, all this stuff is made of different materials. I got plastics, I got lacquers, I got exotic metals, I got wire, I got all this stuff. So guess what? Now we're going back to that smoke rule, because the minute this stuff starts to smoke, we have two problems. The obvious problem of smoke. But guess what? This stuff is toxic from the get-go. And there's no telling how toxic it is. It could be minimally toxic, or it could be really toxic. Point being is, you're not only worried about the smoke now, you have to worry about dose response. And dose response, all right? Clinical will tell you it happens in different ways, but in this case, there is no telling. It may be a very small dose, i.e. 1 or 2 breaths, can give you a really nasty response. It may be that this toxic response could be fatal. Doesn't take a whole lot. These are powered by lithium batteries, etc., so they are dangerous when they are smoking. That's why the smoke rule applies. Same thing applies at home too, people. You got a computer and start smoking, get out of the way. It's just a television set, radios, all the same thing. This is an issue. It will affect you immediately. Make no mistake about that. And it doesn't care. It is very unforgiving. So that's why we want you to close the doors on the way out, because if you have that situation in a room and it is kicking this toxic smoke, we don't want it. We're going to try and cut the oxygen off, but we also want to try and contain that smoke as much as we possibly can. This facility of 100 is one of 4 facilities in the country of hospitals that have a full smoke purge system, so we can actually reverse our air conditioning and suck the stuff right out of the building. So this is why smoke containment is so very, very critical anywhere, but especially this facility. Now you've got the doors closed, all right? The way to rescue yourself is know how to get out of the way. You ever ask yourself why we will have an incident every once in a while in the country and a whole bunch of people will die at the front door? People have these just inbred traits, and one of those is, as human beings, we have this real nasty tendency to exit the way we came in someplace. The only time that we really think about it is getting on board an airplane, because it's really obvious there. Hey, I'm in a big metal tube full of jet fuel. We're going to take this thing off the ground. Something goes wrong. I want to know how to get out, because this is not a common experience. Everybody gets that, but what everybody doesn't get is work, home. We kind of get complacent. Around here, we tell everybody there's always 2 ways out. Our staff is instructed twice a year to use one of those exits. When I give this course on the outside, and when I give it here too, I say, now remind yourself next time that you're at a club, or you're at a restaurant, or you go to the movies, or you're someplace else where there's a whole lot of people, after you walk in and sit down, take a look around and say, okay, I came in that way, but if something goes really bad and everybody decides to stampede, I'm not going that way. How else am I going to get out? Give yourself options. I like options. I'm fire and safety. I'm always looking for options. I want something else. I'm not going to take the status quo. So train yourself to look at that. We've had more than one person that has gone through this class and come back and told me, you know what, saved my life. Thank you very much. That race policy, because it happens, you may be involved in a fire. So understand knowing how to get yourself out of the way. That importance came to us big time right after after the 93 bombing of the World Trade Center. We knew we had a problem nationwide because of the reaction to the 93 bombing. The stairwells, people didn't know where they were full of stuff, they hadn't been maintained, etc. So safety and emergency management throughout the country, especially at the federal level, went on a little campaign and said, let's get these stairwells cleaned up. And we worked with everybody to make sure that people have exit awareness, what we call it in my business, knowing how to get out, knowing how to save yourself. For those of you that don't think it can happen to you here, think again. Because there was an incident 2 years ago that involved everybody on this station. September the 11th, that morning, we were even on CNN. We got a bomb threat, and it was a very legitimate bomb threat. And it came in at 7:28 in the morning, and we had until 8 o'clock. We evacuated this entire facility except for our critical patients, and staff moved those to safe areas. We put everybody on the ground, every building here, including the RO. All patients, everything, everybody out. We secured the facility, and we did it in 28 minutes. That meant the staff knew how to get people out, staff knew what to do. We followed that race policy, the evacuation policy. Fortunately, staff stepped up. It was a remarkable achievement. Nobody had ever done it before. Not evacuated an entire medical center. We didn't lose any patients. We stepped up, we were innovative. Well, we managed to get through it. But it can happen to you. Understand that. Don't have a false sense of security just because you're on a government facility. That'll get you in trouble. So understand that the race policy, The rescue part of it, know what the alarms mean. That will come with time. Understand if you're caught in that situation, make sure you close up everything behind you as you leave, okay? And take the fastest exit out. While you're using those exits, remember, and what I tell my staff is, you know, you really want to do it twice a year because it does a whole lot for you. Number one, you know where they're at. Number two, the first time you're in them isn't an emergency. Number three, you know where it takes you out of the building. Now remember, if you have to exit a building in case of fire, I want you 300 feet away from the building. And that doesn't mean standing in the middle of the street. Okay, because when these boys come in with these fire trucks, they don't stop that well. Okay, and if you got a whole bunch of people standing in the middle of the street, it can get interesting quick. Okay, so remember that as you go outside the building. Hey, safety is about reality. It happens. People pour out the building, they're in the middle of the street, and here comes a fire truck, and it can get dicey at times, to say the very least. All right, that pretty much covers the fire part of it. Now let's go back to some of the other things that you're going to be exposed to. This one is close and dear to my heart. Wheelchair safety. Because of who we are, we do disabled better than anybody. We are state-of-the-art at it. We have a lot of disabled veterans that come through these doors, and we're good at it. Make no mistake. But because of that, we have some issues. When you have a patient in a wheelchair, first things first, when you go to pick that patient up, or if you're working out an escort, check the wheelchair. Make sure that it's in good repair. If it's not, don't use it. Throw a hissy fit. Do whatever you got. Say, I'm not taking the patient that chair. Chair's not. Nope, give me another. All right? You're that first line of patient. You're that patient's first line of defense. You are actually, okay, our first representative that the patient usually sees when they come to the hospital, because when they come in, they're going to park, okay, then they're going to get on a shuttle, and who drives the shuttles? Volunteers. I'll get to that in a minute, but remember that. You're going to be the first one in many cases that the patient has a relationship with. But if you're an escort, it's a little bit different because now they're in the system and they're in the hospital. So check that wheelchair. It's just a visual check. If it's not right, get another one. Now, when you put them in that wheelchair, understand something. It doesn't matter what their injuries are while you've got them in the chair. You have to take into account, and unless you've ever been in one, this is hard to imagine, but wheelchairs are great things, but man, they can hurt you. They can give you some real bad moments. And most of that time is when you go over bumps. And if you are pain sensitive in any part of your body or disabled and in that chair, it can hurt. There are two places in this facility that we have that are known issues. One of those are our doorways, with our sliding doorways and the thresholds. All right? The other are the elevators. The doorways aren't as bad as the elevators. But remember that when you're going through these doorways, slow it down, first of all. Secondly is, okay, if you've got a patient that really is, okay, body sensitive or pain sensitive, you know, and they'll tell you, all right, you may want to, you know, stop and spin them around and back them out of the doorway. That's not usually necessary on the doorways. When I tell everybody about the doorways, just pay attention to that threshold. Slow that chair down, okay, take them through it gently. Elevator's different animal. When you put them on an elevator, okay, spin them around and back them in. And oh, by the way, don't be shy. Tell people to get out of your road if you have to. Staff will assist you on this, okay? Just, hey, coming through. And then you back them in, all right? When you get them to the floor where they're going, you spin them and you back them out. What this does for you is the large wheels on the chair will absorb that bump first. Those small front ones, because when you pop them front ones, it can hurt. Or if you bounce them with the back ones, it can hurt even more. So remember that wheelchair. It's just a little common sense thing, okay? But it makes a huge difference to the patient in that chair. Second thing is shuttle drivers, which some of you will probably become. Again, you will be the first ones that the patient sees. And I've got a lot of respect for our shuttle drivers, because shuttle drivers have to multitask all the time. And that's, part of the territory. That's one of the reasons, volunteers can be shuttle drivers and staff usually aren't good shuttle drivers. Volunteers are usually people, and you're here for a reason. Staff it's a job, okay, no matter how much you care about the veteran. Volunteers get it, okay? Sometimes staff don't. So what's going to happen is you're going to meet some characters. Trust me on this. Just because they're veterans don't mean they're Boy Scouts. But, hey, and I'm like Kelly, I've had so many just great experiences with these veterans. But they're going to be asking questions. Let's talk reality a little bit. Put yourself back this morning. You're a veteran, taking you a month to get an appointment. Traffic is bad. It was cold this morning. The car was iced up. Now you're running a little bit. You get here and you got this massive traffic jam out in front of the hospital because everybody's coming to work. Then, you got to get in here and find a parking place. Now you got to get on a shuttle. It might be your first time here, so you don't have a clue where you're going. All right? So the first person that you see to ask, who's that going to be? That's going to be that shuttle driver. Okay? Now they may be in a good mood or they may be in a bad mood. Who knows? But that's the first person that they usually see is that shuttle driver. All right? So they're going to be full of questions, and that's okay. And remember that. You're not only going to have to answer their questions, but you've got to get them from point A to point B safely. I'm not going to bore you with follow all the traffic rules and stuff like that because, hey, you're a shuttle driver, you're an adult, we all get that. What I want you to remember is, because of the multitasking and the distractions, make very sure that when you stop to load them, everybody is on and seated. Don't fog, and you may have a couple conversations going at the same time, but make sure you get them on and seated before you start up. And understand, we got a lot of disabled, okay? We got a lot of people that don't move as fast as they used to, all right? So it may take them a little time to get situated on this. Remember, okay? Keep your eye on them. Don't take, you can multitask, but keep your eye and make sure everybody is seated properly. The same way as when they're getting off. Make sure they are clear of the shuttle. We see as many injuries with people starting to get off, and it's not the shuttle driver's fault. Sometimes it just happens. There's a lot going on, and somebody's slow to get off. The shuttle will start to move. Bip, bip, bip. There they go. Okay, so I tell the shuttle drivers, make very, very sure that when you stop that shuttle to pick them up, everybody's seated. When you stop that shuttle to let them off, everybody's clear of the shuttle. Also, with the shuttles, you will hear that vehicles are supposed to stop for pedestrians. Yeah, all staff, government vehicles are. Staff is instructed in their POVs that they should stop for all pedestrians on the crosswalks, okay? That being said, you believe that, I got some land for sale, all right? Because a lot of them are patients and they don't care. If you're in a stop, I'm looking for a parking place, get out of the way. All right? So don't fall into that trap. And shuttle drivers, remember, okay? Yeah, you're required to stop for those people in stopwatch, just like all the government vehicles. All right? Slow it down a notch. That's all I tell the shuttle drivers. Just slow it down a notch. If you're going to get busy, they're going to be screaming for you on the radio, all that. That's fine. If it takes you another 5 minutes to get there, okay. All right? Remember, the patient comes first. Always. Patient care, patient care, patient care. That's what we're all about. I think that pretty much covers it. The last thing I will tell you, because my boss is, and he's right about this, he said, make sure we bring this up in orientation. As far as coffee pots and microwaves and stuff like that, if you're going to use them, stay with them. All right? You will not believe how many fire calls we've had because somebody puts a bag of popcorn in a microwave, hits it for 3 minutes and walks away. All right? That will set off a fire alarm in a heartbeat. So just those two things, as microwaves and coffee pots, pay attention to them. I will close by saying, I'm like Kelly, I've got 24 years. We are really glad, both as an employee and as a veteran, we are really glad to have you. Thank you very much. I'll see you around.
I have to tell you that this is a special lady. I've known her for a little while. Terry Canfield is one of our few infection control nurses. She is definitely a rogue here at BayPines. And believe you me, when she speaks from the heart. So whatever she's going to tell you today, she stands by it. But she's here to present on infection control. So thank you very much, Terry, for being here today and spending some time with us.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. As Kelly said, my name is Terry Canfield. I'm one of the infection control nurses here at BayPines. The first thing I'd like to do is ask how many veterans we have in the room. Okay, keep your hands up, please. I would like to thank each one of you very much for serving our country. As you can see, I'm going to be emotional. You can lower your hands now. Because of you, we are here. There is a poem that goes this way. I'm going to mess it up a little bit, but it's because of the veteran that we have freedom of speech. It's because of the veteran we have freedom of religion. It's because of the veteran that we are all here today. And I know I shortened that, but I want you to remember something that Rod said before he left about it being patient-centered. When you are not sure what to do, no matter what anyone has told you in any of these classes, this is all you need to do. Look at the veteran and think, what is the best thing to do for that person at that time? And then that is what you do. That's what I've always done. Later, maybe I could have done it better, but at least I did the right thing in that moment, and that's what you should be thinking to do. Kelly's going to be giving you some handouts, and I'm going to be following the handout pretty closely. I do divert. I am a storyteller, so I'll think of little stories that happened with each one of these. But I want to draw your attention to the back page. There's writing on both sides. On the bottom is a list of the infection control nurses that you can contact should you have any questions. My name is Terry Canfield, and I don't know if it has to do with infection control or not. If you have something that you've noticed that needs to be improved or changed, I would like you to go through your chain of command to try to get that changed or corrected. However, I believe when you use that chain of command, if you're not getting answers, that you need to look to the side, and I'm going to be one of those people for you. I will help you get information on anything you may need. Sometimes we want things to happen or change, and there might be specific reasons why, but at least if you know why, that will help you understand what's happening. So remember that. And so back to the front page. The reason why we're here today is to talk about infection control. We say because we're in a hospital environment that we know we're at a higher risk for infections, but I'm here to tell you today that infections are everywhere. We need to be thinking about infection control in our community as well. Hand hygiene is the single most important thing that we can do to stop the spread of infection, not just here at the hospital, but in our community. When you are washing your hands with soap and water, the way you're going to do that is wet your hands. Whoops, I'm going to go backwards. First, you're going to get some paper towel ready. Make sure you have paper towel available. Wet your hands, lather it up with soap, and then for a minimum of 15 seconds, you're going to wash your hands. And you're going to want to make sure you get all parts of your hands. They did a research study, and thumbs are one of the most frequently missed areas because we kind of go like this. We don't really make sure we get the nail bed and underneath the nail. So we're going to want to make sure. If we wear rings around our rings, when we're done, rinse from the wrist down and leave the water running. Grab a paper towel and dry your hands. Take that paper towel and get a second paper towel ready. Throw that one away, grab that paper towel, and that's what you use to shut the water off. Then save that towel to open the door when you leave, because 2 out of 10 people do not wash their hands after they go to the bathroom. So you could have washed your hands wonderfully, but when you touch that door to leave, now you have someone else's germs all over your hands. I like to say that I personally am responsible for Home Depot on Almerton Road having a trash can by the door as you leave. Because once you leave that doorway, what do you do with that dirty paper towel? You must throw it somewhere. And a couple of years ago, my husband and I were working on a project at our house, which you know takes many days. And every day I went, I threw that paper towel on the floor in the corner. By the end of that week, there was a trash can there. And now they have a trash can outside the door when you leave. So you can change people's behaviors. But anyways, use that paper towel when you leave the door. Now, I have 2 bottles of hand gel here. This is another way that you can clean your hands. This is 100% equally as good as soap and water, except when your hands are visibly dirty and after you use the restroom. You should always use soap and water then, not the hand gel. I ask everyone to carry 2 bottles of hand gel, one for yourself and one to share, to give to someone else. I didn't wear my jacket today so that my red, white, and blue would show up real pretty on that screen. But anyways, I usually carry 4 bottles of hand gel with me, and I give them all away every day when I do rounds. One time I gave them all away in an elevator. We are all responsible to help educate each other. People will look to you as healthcare professionals. After you leave and you tell them that you're volunteering at a hospital, they're going to ask you questions, and you can teach them about hand hygiene. That is the single most important thing. When you see someone that needs some education, don't be negative, don't talk down to them. And I say to people, you can use me and say, oh, that infection control nurse, she's monitoring all the hand gel, and she told us to carry 2 bottles, and just take one for me so I don't have to hear it from her. But share it with people to help prompt them, because if you help others to wash their hands properly, it's going to decrease the risk of you getting an infection. Because we can only make sure we wash our hands. When we see things not being done, we can help by teaching others. So I ask that. But I'm going to show you how little of time, just a small amount, and you want to make sure, again, like I told you with the other, to get the ring, the nail bed, the thumbs, and then the rest of the hand. And you have to rub it till it's dry. And I have now cleaned my hands, or decontaminated my hands, or washed my hands. They all mean the same thing, except for 2 times. Does anybody remember what I said the 2 times were?
When they're really dirty or
Right. Visibly soiled or dirty, and after the bathroom. That's perfectly right. I'm going to repeat your answers just so when they're taping, that people that watch the videotape will get to hear the answer that you gave. Okay. Now I'm going to go over different types of isolation precautions we have. Usually when Rod talks, he talks about signs on the doors or in the hallways. Did he talk to you about signs again? Good. I used to work on 5B. I was a charge nurse up there, and that particular unit gives chemotherapy. There's a symbol that they put outside that door that shows it's chemotherapy. When you are transporting a veteran and you're going into a room, make sure you look at the entire door jamb for any symbol or sign. And if you do not understand what that is, you need to turn around and go to the nurse's station, ask for the charge nurse or the nurse caring for that person, and find out what's going on. Because it could be something hazardous like chemotherapy. And if you were transporting a person with that medication running in their veins and it spilled or it started leaking, you have not been trained on what to do. You should not be transporting that person. The same goes with anyone on isolation. There's several isolation signs that are going around. We have different types of isolation here. Airborne. The airborne is the small blue one that you will see. And the types of things that go in airborne isolation are tuberculosis. And we've had cases of that here. There are people that are in their homes getting what is called DOT. And that's not Department of Transportation. See, I'm nervous. It's direct observed therapy. It's where Pinellas County Health Department goes into a person's home and watches them take their tuberculosis medications. So we could be in the grocery store and there could possibly be someone in that line with tuberculosis. Now they're supposed to stay in their house, but I truly am not 100% assured that if that person is told to stay in their home, they would 100% of the time. Another thing that goes in airborne isolation is chickenpox. Chickenpox has contact isolation because of the pox, but also the virus is shed in the air. It can be dangerous for people that's never had chickenpox, and it can be dangerous for people that are pregnant. It can cause problems with their pregnancy. And so those 2 things go in airborne isolation. Volunteers never transport anyone on isolation, no matter what it's for, never. The next type of isolation I'm going to talk about is droplet. And that type of isolation, and I said that wrong. The airborne, I believe, is that green or blue? Who has them? The airborne is blue, the droplet is green. I'm not sure if I said it incorrectly earlier. I want to clarify that. The contact is orange. So droplet is for things like pertussis and for influenza, seasonal influenza only. And we have had that here. That will have a sign on the door. The contact isolation is the ones you're going to see the most of. That's for things like VRE, vancomycin-resistant enterococcus, MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, C. diff, Clostridium difficile, MDROs, multi-drug resistant organisms, ESBLs, extended spectrum beta lactamase producers. They sound scary. It's because they are. They're infections. And what happens is those types of infections can be spread through contact, like I said. So if they come and touch this table, and then I come afterwards and touch it, touch my mouth, rub my eye, scratch my hand where it makes break in the skin, I can get an active infection. And they could be what's called colonized. They don't have an active infection. They're like a carrier of it. And there's many thousands of them in our community that are not sick, and some of them don't even know they have those infections because they're not sick. That's why in the community you're going to see the hand wipes in the grocery stores, the gas stations. I'm seeing more and more of them now with the hand gels at the pumps. The gas stations by my house actually have gloves that you can use to pump your gas with. The reason why this is happening is the World Health Organization, it's been over a year now, has asked the world to try to help stop the spread of infection. And the best way is how? I told you in the beginning. Hand washing, exactly. And that's why you're going to see more and more of that throughout our community. It's the way the community's helping to keep the infection rates down. So no transportation of volunteers with patients that are on isolation. The last type of isolation I want to talk to you about is called respiratory isolation, and that's for the H1N1 virus. And we have had cases of that here at our VA center. It's a modified type of respiratory isolation. They have to wear a HEPA respirator when they go in there. The person is also on contact isolation. These veterans that are on isolation can go anywhere in the facility and get any treatment that they need, an x-ray, an echocardiogram, an MRI. If they need to go to surgery, they are not denied treatment for anything. But how can that be? I don't care if it's tuberculosis. We have special rules in place, policies, and when a person moves around with TB, they wear a special mask. People are educated. The staff transports them. The staff receiving them knows in advance. Every veteran that's on isolation will have a purple armband. This is one of the ways that you can tell someone's on isolation. So let's say you're going to be transporting somebody. You go up and they have the veteran sitting in the wheelchair at the nurse's station waiting for you, and you see a purple armband. You are going to, after they say to you, oh, this is Mr. So-and-so for you to take, or Mrs. So-and-so, you're going to say, can I talk to the nurse taking care of the patient, or can I talk to the charge nurse? And you're going to find a private place where no one else can hear you, and you're going to nicely say to the person, I'm a volunteer, and I'm sorry, I see that this veteran is on isolation, and I'm not supposed to transport him, so you'll need to get a staff member. But we need to keep privacy for everyone. It's their private information. It's not for other people to know, so we need to make sure, and we never want to make anyone feel that we don't want to help them do something. They should get there, but should they have a medical emergency and they're on isolation, staff are specially trained on how to treat that, and they will be able to make sure that that veteran gets the best care that they should get. So we're going to take the same scenario. Every time you transport someone, you should be getting a pink BayPines Express card. If you go to pick someone up and they do not have this card, you need to go to the nurse or to the charge nurse and say, oh, I need the BayPines Express card. It's a communication tool, and it's good for me is the nurse sending them to give information to the nurse that's receiving. On this, you will see there is a square that says isolation, and it will say yes or no, and that's information you need to know. So if they hand you this card and it says yes for isolation, making sure, once again, not in front of the veteran or any other people anywhere, privately you're going to say, I see he's on isolation, and I'm sorry, I can't take them. Please get a staff member, and hand the card back to them. And they might be unaware, because sometimes what can happen is when the laboratory information comes in, the clerk that is accepting the information may find out. I, as the nurse, may have been down the hallway taking care of a patient, doing a dressing change, giving medication, and they call me away, and in that few minutes time when I haven't been able to check the update orders, the clerk has already made the necessary adjustments, and that nurse might not know. And hopefully she will say to you, I'm really sorry, I'll make sure I get a staff person to take them down, and make sure that that happens. One last thing I wanted to tell you about the H1N1. I'm not sure, in the Sunday paper, you might have gotten this. It was in everybody's Sunday paper. It's something from the state of Florida. I'm going to pass that around too. It talks about the H1N1, and you might know that as volunteers here, you are able to get the H1N1 and the seasonal flu vaccine at no cost. And so while you're here, if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and make sure you get that done. And I'll tell you why. You've seen on the news that they talk about the number of deaths that have occurred across our country due to the H1N1. But one thing they haven't really been pushing the information on is the seasonal influenza. Over 30,000 people die every year because of the seasonal influenza. And that's something you can get here free of charge, and so I encourage you to get that. I myself have already had the seasonal influenza and have had the H1N1. If you have any types of disease processes that affect your immune system, and I don't mind sharing, I have arthritis. I take medications that lower my immune system, and I get both of those vaccines. And there's other vaccines when you're going to your physician, if you're not a veteran here, you need to be asking them about. There's a Pneumovax. They have certain regulations that they follow, age and disease process. And then for the veterans, one thing you have that's awesome here throughout our entire nation is a system called Clinical Reminders. They have everything that is specifically tailored to you and what's happening with your medical conditions, and it will alert people every time you come in to what's required, what you need to make you healthy, preventative measures. It's really an awesome medical system, and so you guys are extremely, I think, extremely well taken care of. It would be a great type of medical system. See, I'm trying to watch my words because I don't want to get in trouble, because this is a place I do like this free speaking. This is a great system for others to look at as a way to do healthcare properly, to do preventative medicine, to take care of people before something's going wrong, to be looking at things in the future and not after you're sick and have an illness. I hope I said that all politically correct. Oh my gosh. Okay, I hope so. So, there's one other thing I want to tell you about the H1N1. When this all broke, which was really last year about this time, you saw all these fancy-dancy, and I don't care if I get in trouble for this, all these fancy-dancy people up on the TV. They were the smartest people all across our country and all across the world. And they were talking about research and all the things that we should do. They used a bunch of $20 words, but this is what I heard them say. I'm going to interpret it for you. If you cough or sneeze, cover it. Use your sleeve, no hands. Use a tissue, sleeve or a tissue. Wash your hands frequently. I say before and after everything. I don't care if it's touching the table or your keys. Wash your hands before and after everything. If you're sick, stay home. If people around you are sick, stay away from them. We all know this. We were taught this as we were growing up by the people around us. But I'm sure they all looked really in their suits, and there was even women up there in their dress suits with their skirts, and I'm like going, yeah, my grandmother, my aunt, you know, when you were in school, the teacher, these are things we learned. It's all common sense. Fear. fear is a bad thing. And you guys, like I said, are going to be looked at as healthcare experts because they know you've come here, you're getting training, and they're going to ask you questions. Your job is to give them information and help them stay calm. If you don't know the information, direct them to the right people. And you're going to learn different people. You're going to find ways to get information. We have an excellent library here full of information. If they're veterans, they have numbers 24/7 they can call to get information that will be very helpful. You will see at the two main entrances, the one to the main hospital and the one that comes into where the mods are, there's these things called kiosks, which is a fancy word for kind of a shelving unit. It has masks in it, it has a hand gel in it, it has tissues, and it has information in it. It's perfectly okay if we see somebody coughing and coughing to say to them, I see you're coughing. We have some masks in this area if you'd like one. You know what I'm saying? You can offer that to them. Hand gel should be everywhere, on the walls, carried in your pockets. If you're walking around and you say, hey, there should be a hand gel pump right there, that would really be good. A lot of people come in and out of that way. Let your supervisor know and go up the chain of command. They can put a work order in, someone will put it in, it'll be taken care of. So when you're out doing things, if you see things that need to be improved, let people know and we can get that taken care of. One thing you can do to help yourself decrease the risk of getting an infection is to stay healthy. One thing I already talked about was getting vaccines. Another thing is getting your annual checkups. Where I grew up, it was kind of a rough neighborhood, and not everybody made it out. Some people didn't live through it, some people are in jail, and some people have unhealthy lifestyles. So one year, I don't know when, must have been when I thought I was past the you are going to survive mode, I woke up and I went, you're alive! You're alive, you made it. I mean, the odds, I beat them. I'm so fortunate. So after that, I thought, you know, you got to get healthy. I started exercising, I changed my diet, I get my annual physicals, I make sure I get my vaccines. I've worked hard to get to this spot, and I want to stay healthy so I can enjoy some more of it. So your birth month is a real easy way to remember things. For me, mine is in the spring. It doesn't work so well with the flu and the H1N1, but it does for everything else. So I make sure that month I'm getting my physical, I'm getting my checkups and all my screening tests that I need to do to keep myself healthy. Here, in addition to getting the free influenza, seasonal, and H1N1, you can get an annual PPD test. And that is a test that tells you if you've been exposed to tuberculosis. And like I said, it could even be in the community. Doesn't mean that it had to happen here. That's something you can get done here free of charge through our occupational health. Now let's say you're just going about doing your nice volunteer work and you're helping someone and bleeding occurs. You're getting blood or they're coughed and sneezed and mucous membranes all over you. OSHA has enacted some laws, they started back in the 80s, that help us. And that is this: if you have been exposed to anything, the first thing you should do is wash it with soap and water if possible. If it's your eyes, you need to rinse them. If there's not water, if you have bottled water or water fountain, you need to get somewhere, flush those eyes out, and then get to occupational health. You must let your supervisor know, so proper paperwork can be filled out, but you need to get to occupational health as soon as possible. Don't wait till your break or the next day. Don't wait till it's too late, because they might need to start doing some investigating right away to see if you need any testing, to see if you need any vaccines. And so if you do feel that you might have been exposed, make sure you're reporting that and getting the proper treatment. Now, if occupational health is not open, and they're open Monday through Friday during the day, if you're going to be here on weekends, holidays, in the evening time, you're going to want to go to the emergency room instead of to occupational health. Okay, my time is up. I'm just going to tell you one last thing. I was the charge nurse on 5B, like I told you, and there were many days up there that I was overwhelmed. There was lots of things going on. I'm sure some of you have heard that in the old days, the people that are now in the intensive care unit would have not survived. They would have died. The people that are now on the regular units are people that probably would have been in the unit before. People are going home, and I'm sure you know many of them that normally would have stayed in the hospital until treatment was completed, but they're not. IV antibiotics are being given in the home. Many complicated dressing changes and chemotherapy are being given in the home. Nurses have more things to do, and because of volunteers like you made my day, I try not to do this. You made my day survivable. I mean, you helped save me so many days, and you are going to do this for other people. You are going to impact the nurses, and you are going to impact the veterans. You are going to make a huge change here. Our facility is number one almost 100% of the time. A few times we've fallen to number two, but it's because we all feel comfortable to speak up. There were many days that I said, it doesn't take an act of Congress for me to do this. I will shout it from the top of this building, and I have been promoted to this beautiful position from the charge nurse. This facility has continuously excelled because people spoke up. They were not silenced or kept quiet. It's encouraged to speak up. But we need to speak up appropriately. Like I said, go through your chain of command. But if you're not seeing or understanding, you can go to the side. That would be me, Terry Canfield, and you can call me for anything, and I will help get you the information. What you may want may not be doable, but maybe if someone can explain it to you and help you understand, that you will be able to see why it is the way it is. And I'm here to be one of those people. And that's it. Thank you very much.
We have two more special guests that I would like to introduce to you, and each one of them has a very special role here at BayPines. I'm going to introduce first Deanna Bishevsky, who is with the Privacy Office, and she's going to share a few comments with us.
Good morning, my name is Deanna Bishevsky. I am one of two of your privacy officers here at BayPines, along with Sally Gaynor. I just want to tell you where we're located currently, because things are always changing. We are in Building 100, which is the main hospital. There's the executive suite up front, and we are located in the hallway that runs left alongside of it in room 1A, 124. My extension is 7029, and Sally's extension is 4626. There are going to be changes, and we will be moving in the future, but that's where we currently reside. Kelly is going to show you a privacy awareness video that really hits on everything that we would like to discuss with you, but it's such a great video that we just let you guys check it out, and then I only hit on a couple of key points, and Information Security Office might hit on those points as well, but we just want to make sure when you're here on campus that you have your badge on at all times. It's your pass to get in to where you need to be. Everybody knows who you are. And in addition to that, just make sure that you are protecting not only your privacy, the veterans' privacy, the privacy of everybody that's on this campus. And again, the video is going to go over a lot of information in detail. It's really good. It hits home. So if you ever have any questions regarding your privacy, or we are also your FOIA officers, which is the Freedom of Information Act. If you ever have any questions or you want to put in a FOIA request, the Privacy Office handles those as well. Again, my name's Deanna. I wish you all the best time here at BayPines. Welcome. And if you have any questions, please feel free to call us afterwards. Thank you.
I like to use the term Vegas factor. What do they typically say about Vegas? Stays in Vegas. And that's kind of the same tone as our privacy here. What you see and hear, what a veteran shares with you is really between you and that veteran. It's between you and that person. And it's to be held close to the vest. So thank you very much, Deanna, for sharing that with us. Okay, from our Information Security Office, we have Michael Young, who is going to share a couple of comments with us. So come on up, Mike.
Hello everyone, my name is Michael Young. I'm with the Information Security Office. I'm one of two. My coworker Sandy DeSimone is in a meeting at this time, and she'd like to say hello to everybody and welcome. Again, Michael Young. I am in building 2, actually 37, next to building 2, which you guys might know familiar. That's where Kelly's located. So the building right across the way, building 37, room 133, and my coworker is in room 130. My extension is 2942 and hers is 1153. Basically, the job of the Information Security Officer is we work very, very, very closely with privacy. We are basically figuring out how to protect the privacy aspect of the VA. We do a lot with computers. We do have a lot of monitoring. We monitor all the employees' accesses, the internet sites they go to, what records they access, and a whole list of other things that we're watching continually in the background, making sure that all the veterans and patients here, as well as the employees' information, is held secure and private to them, and only those who have the need to know for patient care and stuff like that. Basically, our goal is to protect the VA information against fraud, waste, and abuse, and any way that we can do that, that is pretty much our goal. We work really closely with the IT department as well, auditing them, making sure that they're creating the appropriate access people should have, people having strong passwords, and all different types of aspects in terms of sensitive disposal of sensitive information and stuff like that. So if you ever have any questions, please let me know. Information security really starts with you guys, the end user. Whether you're walking around, if you see sensitive information on the ground, pick it up, throw it away in the appropriate recycle bin, sensitive record bin. We use you guys to help us immensely. We are an office of 2, and we have over close to 7 CBOCs. We have vet centers and approximately close to 4,000 people here that we take care of. So it's a very large facility. We do many roles, and we need your guys' help to help protect our patients' data and stuff like that. So again, if you ever have any questions, let us know. We're just a phone call away. You definitely have Kelly's number, I'm sure, so she can always get a hold of us as well. So thank you.